Whoa, we got the one intro this time, my boy. Let's go. Welcome
Let's
everybody to Boss Battle episode number 30. Dude, episode 30 is crazy. I didn't think we'd well, of course I thought we'd get this far, but like just thinking about like how many episodes we've done is kind of crazy to think about. But welcome everybody.
Wow.
This is episode number 30. I have my boy Yaikon with me. How you doing, Yaikon?
Can't complain, can't complain. How's it going? Yeah, episode 30. That's pretty crazy to think about. 30 weeks of this. That's awesome. There's not a ton of spaces that have been around that long, so I'm happy to be here.
And we do a full transformation from space to live stream now, so that's awesome. That's freaking awesome. We do have Rodrigo here and Kyle from Moonray. How are you guys doing?
Good. Glad to be here. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, doing well. Excited to be on the show with you guys.
Absolutely. And we do have Clouds as well, who is actually on the screen this time and is a producer.
Yo, what is up, guys? Super hyped to be here, man. I'm super hyped to talk to Moonray and see how they do against the bosses today. I've been playing Moonray for a little bit. Shout outs to Jin. He actually get me access to your game. And it's been pretty cool to play it, man. So I'm excited to talk to you guys. I'm excited to see how you guys do. And yeah, it's going to be a great show.
Yeah, so even though we do have 30 episodes, I will explain how this show works just for everybody who is new to the show. So basically, we have 3 rounds of bosses. We have the Golem King. We have the
Oh my god,
Cerebrus, and then we also have the Twin-Headed Hydra, where basically each boss will have a round of questions, and I'll take one, Yaikon will take the other, and then the Twin-Headed Hydra will have me and Yaikon on both of those. So pretty much alternating between the two. So you guys ready to play boss battle?
Let's do it.
Yeah,
right.
ready.
So we're gonna jump into the Golem King, and Cloud, take it away. All right. Question number 1: how does the lore from books and comics translate to the game, and what significance does it bring?
So for us, the comic is super important because it's really inspiration for the game team. So, I mean, what happens is that we have comic book artists, and in particular, 2, Brandon Graham and Shersho Penalta, who are just making a story and they're building a world, and they just kind of do whatever they want. And our game team is constantly reading it, and they're constantly in communication with the comic guys. So for them, it's inspiration that they see an environment, a character, something like that from the comic. They'll just say, okay, we're putting that into the game. That's going to be a character, et cetera, et cetera. And in fact, that was going, kind of so well, or, we just saw that it was just such a rich, fountain of inspiration for everyone that the one of the comic book artists became the art director for the whole game. So now, Shersho, who was one of the original artists, is the art director, and that's really helped us just really tie the visual style that we developed with the comic with the game. Because for us, the unique visual style is super, super important, and it's a lot easier to explore that with illustrations first. You can just try really crazy ideas and kind of see how it works. Much more rapidly try things and find a style. And now bringing that style into a 3D world, especially with all the performance requirements of a game, is trickier. But for us, it's been. I think it's going to be really one of our secret weapons. That we have a really unique visual style that I think is going to make the game stand out.
Yeah, it sounds like the comic books, or the books and all that stuff, kind of like brought all of the impact to your game, because now you have like the art director, so that's a very impactful choice to bring that person on.
Yeah, and it's and it's been really great. It's been a learning experience because our art director he never had worked on a video game before.
Wow.
And so some people thought, okay, that's you need to get a game art director, but we actually like this more because he just knows visual. He just understands visual language, and all the technical stuff. We said, don't worry about it. You just tell us how you want it to look, and we'll figure out. We have other teams that will figure out how to implement that. And he just brings a very fresh approach to everything. In other words, he's not on ArtStation checking what other games are doing. He doesn't care. He doesn't look at any other games. He's just doing his own thing and inventing his own world. And then our job is to implement that. So I think it's one of the reasons that we have that we get these kind of new ideas is that we're I guess we're like reaching into new talent pools. In other words, like the standard thing would be go find a game art director, and he's worked on a bunch of different games. But that's how you end up getting the same stuff too. And the amount of talent in the comic industry it's out of control. I mean, it's crazy. It's
Yeah.
I mean, like if you go to like a comic convention, the number of artists there is just that are incredible is crazy. So I don't know why more games don't do it, but it's been great for us.
It's a great point. I totally agree with you, by the way. Yeah, what's up, McClouds?
Jin is in the house saying, "Let's fucking go, Moonray." Yo, what's up, Jin? Thank you for being here, brother.
Yeah, but I just wanted to
no.
say, just real quick, I just wanted to say, like, I really do agree with that sentiment. Like, the art styles that I've seen personally in comic books, like, they need to be in video games. Like, some of them
Yeah.
looked like video games to me. So I
Yeah.
really do appreciate that you mentioned that. Go ahead, Claus. My bad.
No, I was just going to add to that. It's really interesting that you guys approach someone that had developed already, like almost like a lore, right? And picked up from that to develop this really unique game design, right? Because when you do play Moonray, one thing I will say, the way the characters look, the movement style, right? The way the weapons kind of like almost morph with the character in their hands and stuff like that. It's just a very unique design, right? That I personally haven't seen across many games at least. So I wanted to ask though, because a lot of teams in the Web3 space are kind of working on both, right? They're working on developing the game and also taking care of the lore and designing what that looks like and even writing it, right? How difficult do you think that is for certain teams, right, to develop both things side by side versus going to somebody that has already done so, right, and can bring almost like a finished package to then to build upon?
I mean, when and just to be clear, when we started, we already had an idea of a visual style. We already had some experiments that we had done, some in 3D, some in as illustration, and what we looked for is artists that already were crazy. And Brandon is the lead artist of the comic book. He did a comic series called Prophet that's probably like 10 years old now. When I read that, I mean, it's some of the wildest sci-fi that I've ever read. I was like, okay, we need to get him. We need that guy, And so we approached him and said, hey, we're trying to build this world. Here's some of the ideas we have. We want you to just take it and run with it and go nuts. And he was the perfect guy. And then he brought on, and we've got a lot of other comic friends of his that are collaborating now. But it is tricky, not just in Web3. I mean, in general, a game that then does a comic is pretty, it's pretty common in games. A lot of people do it. But the problem is that you end up with like the comic version of the game, and it's not very inspired. I don't think that's the right way to go, because you just end up with like, you already had a game and then someone kind of draws a little bit different, but the ideas and the stories are already kind of from, like, it doesn't make for a very good comic. The comic artists are so, they're some of the most creative people I think, around. And like I said, there's so many really cool looking comics, really interesting ideas, interesting story ideas, interesting styles. For us, we just kind of unleash them, and we never tell them what to do. We never tell them what to draw. We don't tell them story. We just say, we gave them the seed of an idea for a world. It's post-human. There's this material called Mium, and things are made out of it, and it's partially conscious, and you can create a whole being out of it. And we had a few sketches, and that's it. Now you just go do whatever. I mean, you're the creative guy. You go do it. And if you just kind of let them run loose, they'll do really, really cool stuff. If you get a team and you start playing comic book director yourself, because you think that you're Mr. Creative, it's gonna be a mess. Like, you get creative people, you just let them do what they're good at. So from our standpoint, it's been easy, but also, you give up control too. We have no idea. Like basically every week, Brandon gives us new comic pages. I have no idea what he's gonna do. Ever.
That's the best part.
Dude,
that is the best part.
I absolutely love that answer, man, because we talk about this internally at Catalyst all the time, right? How a lot of teams should really focus on kind of like putting a little bit more focus when they're building out their team, right? And allowing each sector of their team focus at what they're good at, right? Like if you're in the developing side, focus on developing a great product with great experiences. If you're in the designing part, allow creative freedom and their control to kind of like shape that story and what that looks like, right? So I love that you guys are exploring it that way, and it really shows through the product that you're building, right? So and before we move to the next question here, I just want to shout out some comments in the chat real quick. We got Cesar Martinez saying, lots of legends in here today. Shout outs to you, my guy. You're a legend yourself. Thank you for being here. Jane again saying, what's up, Caesar? They're having like a little conversation right now in the chats. We got Ramen saying, what in the rug pull is this? Come on, man. Nah, JK, love you all, Moonray. Polo saying, I'm surprised the stream hasn't crashed with all the legends in here. Yo, shout outs to you, my boy. Shout outs to you. We got Ramen reacting to that. And then we have Web3 Gamer saying, you're What's up, my guy? What's up? What's up? Thank you for being here in the show.
Yo, shout out YouTube. We're live on YouTube and Twitch and Twitter. Let's go. Or sorry, X.
We're live everywhere, baby. You can check us out anywhere you want. Sersky in the house saying, "What's up, fam? What's up, Sersky? Thank you for being here, brother."
Ski.
All right, man. I think we're ready to move on to question number 2, Hado.
All right, fantastic. Let's get into it. Second question: what is your biggest pro and con of building in public?
I mean, I think it's definitely the right way to go, but there's definitely, some potential drawbacks that you just have to manage. In other words, I mean, you are putting things out early, so you're going to get some harsh feedback on things that you already know and they're already working on, or that you already have a plan on how you want to take it. But it is good to get feedback before you start implementing that plan, because you don't want to go in the wrong direction or take something too far down one path when in reality people didn't want it. So, I mean, you will, if you're going to build in public, you also have to listen, which sounds kind of obvious, but a lot of teams, I don't know if they really want to listen. And you may have to change your plans based on what people tell you. And you have to, you can't be too, too proud or just, believe that you know everything. If you start hearing feedback of, look, you guys got to change X and does it work? Then, then you got to at least try it. Okay, let's try it and let's push out another patch or something and see if that's better. So it's, it's kind of like you give up a little bit of control because you're getting a lot of people telling you what to do. And also you have to filter it too. I mean, another tricky part is that there's different types of gamers, and gamers are coming with different expectations or, different desires on what they want to play. And you've got to take that into account when you're getting feedback. Like, okay, but this is a guy that really likes shooters. So he's really pushing us too much in the shooter direction. Or this is a guy that really likes this is an esports pro. Yeah, of course he wants more, like more complicated controls because he's a pro, so you've got to filter things out a little bit, but definitely the idea of building a game, say just going 4 years in stealth and then releasing it, that just, gives me heart palpitations. It's like, that makes me so nervous. It's like you can just get early feedback and make sure you're on the right track.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you mentioned like filtering the feedback too, because it's very important that everyone has good ideas, but not every good idea fits, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
It's about finding that balance.
They want a different game, like listen, that's not the kind of game that we want, but we understand, we understand why you're saying that, and we'll take into account.
For sure. And I want to invite Kyle into the discussion. Whenever you feel like you need to jump in the conversation, please let us know, because I don't want to make you feel like left out at all.
Oh, no worries, man.
For sure. Let's move on to the next question here. If you had to name one particular thing that makes Moonray sticky, what would it be? Very interesting question.
I mean, this is actually where Kyle could jump in. I mean, Kyle, you're in all the play tests. Like, what do you think is bringing people back?
I think the competitiveness is really what it comes down to. I mean, people come and they play, and it turns into a sweat fest quick. I mean, people are competitive. They wanna play the game. They want to get better at the game, and we see it week after week that they are coming back just to get better, right? So I think the competitiveness, the future of like esports, the way that it's technical. It takes time to actually learn how to get good at this game, and people want to spend that time getting better. And we see that in our community. Our community is constantly growing. So I think hands down the competitive edge that we have in game.
And like behind the scenes, some of the things that we do, that we've done, kind of on purpose, like you can't really build for esports in my opinion. Like you just have to try and build the best game you can, and hopefully organically that kind of starts to form. And if you start to see it early on, and fingers crossed, we're starting to see it's like, okay, you're kind of on the right track, you keep going. But one of the really important things with that competitiveness is you have to make the right technical decisions early on. In other words, the net code is the most crucial thing. I mean, it's a multiplayer PvP game. And we spent a lot of time working on just really basic net code. How do the animations actually work? How do you do combos? And really making it as smooth as possible. Because if it's in any way janky or jittery or slow, or you have a lot of network corrections, then it doesn't matter. It can be super fun in single player, but it doesn't matter. It's got to be fun in multiplayer, and that's just like a really super technical thing. And then after that, the balancing, that's a little, that's like a voodoo magic all of its own. Do you have a double jump? Can you dash? Where are the iframes in the dash? Where are the iframes in the jump? It's like, you've got to find guys that really have that feel. That's a very That's not a technical thing at all. It's very much like a feel thing. But we're really happy with what we built. We spent a lot of time building a server authoritative netcode, which is really difficult, especially for a melee-based game. But we think it's going to pay off in the future because it's going to help us really keep the game competitive, keep control of cheaters. There's other things that we're going to be doing to stop cheating, but it's super, super important if you want to hopefully have an esports scene develop, and especially if there's Web3 elements. So there's, potentially, real world monetary value things going on. You can't have any cheating, but and especially doing that with a melee based game. If you're doing just a shooter, the animations of the characters don't matter that much because you just have to register a hit and then you can just play a death animation. With a melee game, we have to know, like if you swing the sword, we have to know where the sword is at every single moment because we have to know where the hitbox is. So when you see it on your screen, you dodge it or you parry it. So it's a lot trickier to do it with a melee based game. But that's what we've been doing for the last 2 years, and so far we're happy that looks like it's looks like we got the basics at least.
I do want to really quick hop in that rabbit hole because you did mention like cheaters and stuff. Do you guys have plans on how to combat that and any processes of maybe reporting players and stuff like that? Because I really haven't seen that kind of feature in Web3 that much, but what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, the first thing is the most important thing for us is server authoritative netcode. So it makes it a lot harder for you to do cheats at the client side because the server is the one that's registering all movement, hits, and things like that, right? There still are some cheats available on the client side, but that's going to go away even more. There's a patch coming out. There's a new version of some animation and netcode features in Unreal 5.4. And actually, one of our team actually contributed to it. So some of the next version of Unreal has some of our code in it. That's basically a type of network prediction that happens on the server side as well. That also will help us keep control of that. Because then basically most of the core of the gameplay is happening on the server side. Okay, so now we control it. That's kind of that's probably like 80% of it. And I'm sure there's still going to be other nonsense. People are always clever and they always figure things out. So we probably will have to, we haven't gotten that far yet, but build some sort of reporting system. And we have all the logs and we can tell like if someone's trying to like speed up their client, and we can spot that immediately on the server and things like that. So, but it is, for me, server authoritative is the biggest. If you start with a client authoritative netcode, you're just in a world of pain, and you always have to have anti-cheat installed locally. There's ways to mitigate it, but it gets tougher. It gets a lot tougher.
Dude, to me that's an amazing answer because I love that you guys have this focus, right? If you're gonna start implementing esports into your game, right, or like want to build that scene around your game, right? Because you're right, it's crucial, right? And I think if you have some type of competition going on and there's a prize pool involved, there's always going to be a try to cheat, right? There's always going to be that one person or that bad actor, as we like to say in Web3, right? That's going to try to go and cheat out the game or try to get into that prize pool by cheating, right? So I think having ways to combat that or make it extremely annoying for people to have to cheat in the game, you get me, is super important. And I'm glad that you guys are taking all the right approach to get there. Real quick, Hado, before we keep moving, let me shout out some people in the chat real quick because they were saying some good stuff. We had Jin saying back when we were talking about feedback, some people also might have good feedback but don't know how to word it. So you got to dig deeper to see what they are really saying or wanting to say. Ramen saying Kyle made Moonray sticky and he's a great CM and makes it easy to want to join and have fun. Kyle equals Moonray, man. Let's fucking go, Kyle.
Appreciate you.
Jin also agreeing that Kyle is the GOAT. Then Jin is saying, no lie, a lot of Web3 gamers tout they are building for esports, but I feel like Moonray has the best chance to actually get there.
Yeah, no, I do
feel that too, man. The approaches are there for sure.
I do love Rodrigo's like take on that because a lot of these games will build for that type of thing, and it's like you don't build that just naturally evolves. Like you can influence it, you can hope that it exists and stuff like that. You can give money towards the effort, but like the actual esport itself isn't something you can just like build from the ground up. Their game has to have a community first, and they have to be really sweaty and competitive.
Yeah, it has to be organic. There's you can nurture it a little bit, but not too much. It's got to be fun.
Yep.
Absolutely. All right, I think we're ready to move on to the next question, my guy.
Fantastic. All right. This question's a little bit of a silly one, but what is your least favorite weapon and why?
For me, I mean, I usually like I like the cannon and the greatsword are my favorites. Mostly just because I just like how they look visually, and you just kind of feel really powerful. You know, like when you slam someone with a greatsword. So right now, for me, the saber, even though it's useful, and some people are really good with it. I don't use it that much. I'm mostly a greatsword, but Kyle has way more hours in the game than I do. Like,
Yeah.
Kyle, what do you think?
I'm a great sword maxi all day. Kind of I hate the saber right now just because people are abusing a cheese we have that already patched out. But I like the great sword and the cannon. Really depends on situation though, because when you're playing free for all, the blaster's a lot better. Just to be able to shoot someone as they're running away. But really, it's situational, man. Depends on who I'm playing, but most of the time you'll catch me with the great sword.
And of course, we got a lot of weapons on the way. You know, by the end of the year, we're gonna have new weapons and a whole lot of new things that's gonna really change the. It's gonna really change the game. It's gonna make it a lot more complicated.
All right. Love those answers. Let's move on to the final question of the Golem King. And Damien, I think as I just said that, posted the wow. How does he know?
He knows, man. He's listening. He's listening.
This man is quick with it. All right. Well, let's just hop into the last question. The poll is live, chat. Go ahead and vote.
Yep.
Who is the worst player on the team and why?
Gamer? Are you talking about worst gamer in game?
No, like on the Moonray team.
On the Moonray team, I mean, if it's not me, it's my brother, or because we mostly watch the playtest because we're observing. We watch 6 different screens. We don't play that much. And Moonray's a young man's game too. You know, like it's very, you gotta have very fast reaction time, and I think
using the reflex. I got you, man. I got you. I'm reaching that age too. You know, like I have to stop playing esports, and it's not good, man. It's not good.
Yeah,
but
it's definitely one of us.
What about you, Kyle? Do you have the same opinion, or?
I don't think I should answer that. No. Yeah, probably with his Hans was pretty bad when I played him.
Yeah, Hans is one of our co-founders. He's terrible.
Yeah, it was fun playing him though. But yeah, I'd probably go with that. Just shout out Hans there too.
I don't know, man. We got Caesar in the chat saying that you're the one that's the worst, Kyle. Like he's like Kyle, man.
That's a low blow, Caesar. Yeah, definitely me.
Caesar.
I'm pretty bad.
You need a boy like that? Come on, man.
I always know when I'm watching Kyle streaming because he's always airwalking. So it's like, oh, that's Kyle. Kyle airwalks
everywhere. It's the movement, man.
Oh, so Kyle has stylized the game to his liking. I got you. Understood. Well, let me check on that poll there, see how much time we got. And let's see here. Got about 3 minutes left on the poll. We can go ahead and move on to the next boss. If you're ready, Klaus.
Yes, sir. We'll be releasing all the scoring, by the way, a little bit later, which I just noticed, I don't think you ever went over that, did you? How the scoring works?
I didn't.
Okay, so real quick, just to catch you guys up real quick, so you're not turned off towards the end. Basically, as we go through the bosses, the goal is for you guys to get 80 and above on each of the bosses, so that it gives you a passing score towards the end, and that gets you if you do defeat all the bosses, then we send the winners an NFT trophy that we're gonna be sending out later as we close out in the quarter. But yeah, and that has some utility within our ecosystem that we can tell you guys about in private, because we haven't released it yet. So we could definitely talk about that if you guys are interested in finding out a little bit more. But yeah, that's essentially how it's going to work. Now, as we move through boss number 2, we do have a little special surprise for the Moonray community and the Catalyst community towards the end of this boss. So we'll be doing that in a little bit. But yeah, let me get the question going here. 1 sec. Oh, I lost.
Wait, don't forget what you got to do before that question now.
Oh, that's right. Man, I can't multitask. Jaikan is having some tech difficulty, but let me move us here to the next boss, the Cerberus. Oh, click the wrong one. See, I'm freaking out.
We're building in public too, so it's all good.
It's all good, man. It's all good. Listen, when you build in public, that's the ultimate excuse, all right? Like you don't have to worry about anything.
That's going on the blooper reel.
It's so good. It's so good. We'll do better on the next one. All right. So for the first question here in Severus, it says, with a team that started in crypto, launching your NFT back in 2022, how does this background position you for success in launching a Web3 game?
I mean, it's, the positive side of it is that it's, we've been in the industry for a while. We've seen a lot of things come and go. We've seen a lot of the trends. We recognize when something new is out. Sometimes it's like, hey, it sounds really cool now. Pump the brakes. Let's everyone relax. Let's wait 3 months, wait 6 months, see how it shakes out, because the industry moves so fast. So that's been good, and we in general move pretty carefully. So we avoided some mistakes early on that I think would have really bit us with that because the market in 2021, 2022 was so crazy, so much pressure to do crazy things. So it's been really good that we really kind of understand the crypto mindset. I mean, we've been in it. I mean, we're in it. I mean, we're fully in it. So that's good. The tricky part about doing something like releasing an NFT early on is that you build a lot of expectations and people want something right away. And when it comes to a game, we say, listen, this is going to be a really important NFT in the game, but the game's going to take 2, 3, 4 years to build, and that's the only way you're going to get something quality. So it's been over 2 years, and we're only now entering in open alpha. I don't think that we'll have a full release for another 2 years probably. We expect to be we're going to go open alpha to early access. We'll be in early access probably for let's say at least a year, but probably 2 years. Now the NFTs they'll be useful. They'll be useful very, very soon. But it is a long time to get people to wait. A couple of years. It's a long time, but that is kind of part of being the early community. I mean, some people really like it. They understand and they get that they're jumping in early and they're part of the early support and they like it. But some people, when Moon, and it's like, guys, everyone relax.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think that's the culture behind people that collect NFTs, right? And it's totally normal because we talk about this internally all the time too, that how we want teams that are building in here, right, in this part of the ecosystem to really adopt the culture that is being built here in Web3, right? And almost become as Web3 native as possible, right? Because you do got to understand that culture if you want to attract the crowds that are going to support that ecosystem that we're trying to build, right? Now, we also got to make that culture seamless enough and attractive enough to attract the mass adoption that everybody wants, right? But me personally, I'm glad that you guys went that route and that you did it with so much transparency, right? Because it takes a lot of guts to release an NFT and then tell those NFT holders, hey, the product where this is going to be useful and valuable is going to take 2 to 3 years to build out if you want that quality of a product. That's just the reality of it. You can shortcut that when it comes to building games, and I think that's a point that a lot of people forget in Web3 because of what you said, the industry is moving so fast all the time that people just want high expectations in insane turnarounds, so it just doesn't happen when it comes to gaming. And I wish more projects were as transparent as you guys when it came to that, because it's very simple to get people to understand it if you just treat it with transparency and are truthful about it. It's like, hey, we're serious about building a good game, and that's just going to take time to do. And even major studios are AAA studios take that time to build games, so it's not something that you're bullshitting or taking the money and not doing anything. It just takes time, and I think more people need to understand that. What's up?
I was just gonna say, I think that the audience needs to know that too, that these games can be approached many different ways, where it's you're super, super early, and that needs to be more expressed. Whenever people are telling their friends about this cool game, let them know, hey, it's super, super early. That needs to be channeled down to everyone, because the expectation of when Moon and turn into fast profits and all that stuff, that's all the NFT side of it, and the gamer side of it's okay, cool, where's the game, right? When, where, how can I play all that stuff? So if you can balance all that together, it's a perfect recipe for Web3 gaming, in my opinion.
I'll say that our community, we got to give props to them, man, because they have not fudded any of our NFTs. They've been there and consistently held the entire time, and we didn't have too many pushy people. We didn't have people in the Discord angry, and I think that speaks to what you guys were saying earlier with our transparency, how we just approached them like they were people. If they had a problem, what we would do is like I would take them into a private conversation, talk to them, and say, hey, what's the deal? And usually they just want to be heard, right? They want their concerns to be heard rather than something done right away. So as long as you approach people like they're an individual, I think we've dealt with that type of the early flooding you'd see in other communities didn't happen as much in ours.
Yeah, it's all about transparency, in my opinion, man. And like you said, communication, right? Because at the end of the day, they got to justify, like, hey, like, what's the reason I'm waiting when I just spend money on this asset, right? Which is kind of unheard of in the traditional gaming world before the product is finished, right? Like, you never go and buy a $200 asset on a demo that's available in Game Pass or something like that, right? Like, you usually wait until the game is done, and then you buy the battle pass or you buy the DLC, and then you start spending money within the game, right? But in our world, it's like very common for people to drop a collection or some type of mint or something that people have to buy before the product is even finished, or they even get their an early access or anything like that. And I think a lot of the times it's what Kyle was saying. It's just concerns, right? It's like, what was the point of me buying this? What's the point of me holding this, right? Why shouldn't I just sell it for what the next offer that I get, And the stronger you have a team that can explain that in an easy way to understand, right, and get it across multiple people, then that's when you get a strong community that's willing to hold their bags and wait 2-3 years for their product to be finished, right? Because they want to be a part of the experience at the end of the day. And something we keep saying about the space that we're in is the importance of being that early, because we get to be I would have loved to be a part of being part of the development process for Call of Duty, for example, right? But I just never had that opportunity. And in Web3, we have that opportunity to work with people like you guys and really be a part of that developing process, And that's why, in my opinion, that's why it's worth owning certain assets and stuff like that when it comes to games.
Yeah, totally agree. And I think the other thing that we're going to start seeing now as well, that's going to start to separate the people are going to start to at least appreciate, I think, is that you build trust over time, and it takes time. So it's a lot easier now because if we go to our community now and say, hey guys, listen, remember we said that we were going to build this, and here we are. Now it's coming. Thanks for being patient and waiting for us. That does build a certain level of trust. So when we explain our plans, like, hey, here's what we're going to do next. We think it's going to take this amount of time. They have a reason to believe us now, and that's a really and there's no way to do that outside of something like Web3, where people buy something and then they have to trust you, and then it's a lot of responsibility on you as the developer, but then when you deliver, it's a really good situation. So I think that is going to also change the way that Web2 and Web3 works, which I think is really positive.
Absolutely, I agree 100%. Let's get moving here to question number 2 in Bus 2. Considering Moonray is going free to play for a limited time, how does the team plan to handle the potential influx of new players, ensuring server stability and maintaining a smooth gaming experience for both new and existing players?
I mean, that's part of what we're testing during this free to play, is we're stress testing servers and everything. I mean, we already have done, so we, to a certain degree, so we think that we'll be able to handle it. But that's part of what we're going to learn. So, I mean, I'm sure there's going to be some issues here and there. And we'll see exactly how many servers we need to spin up and where. But we've got a lot of that we think handled pretty well already, where we can spin up servers, very, very quickly, spin them up all over the world. But now we need to test it. So that's part of the reason why we're going free to play, is we just want to see, let's just throw everything at it and see what breaks before we go and start selling items.
Absolutely. And I have a personal question for you, right? Because I don't know much about like server testing and all that type of stuff when it comes to like the developing side, right? Does that go hand in hand with optimizing the game, right? Because oftentimes the biggest issues we notice in Web3 games is optimization and server stability, right? Like having high pings or not having a game that can run basically in a low enough quality equipment that everybody can play it, right? Like usually games here require like a high performance computer or something like that to be able to run smoothly.
It absolutely, it's a huge part of it. I mean, just imagine it's the same as just having a really powerful PC, but if you buy a game that's completely unoptimized, single player, and it still might run like crap, even though you have the very latest hardware. You have to optimize, and for us, it's you optimize the netcode to send the least amount of information possible over the network that still gets the information to each individual client. So that's super important. What we're working on now, and in fact, Kyle, a lot of times when we have internal play tests every week, and usually Kyle joins from North America, and we have a European server. And it's usually pretty good, right? I mean, like I usually have like a 100 millisecond ping or so, sometimes a little more.
Yep.
What we're working on now, where we think we're going to be by fall, is with 150 millisecond ping. You shouldn't notice. It should be just fine. So I mean, we hope that people mostly will have a 50 millisecond ping, but that difference between being able to go from 50 to 150 without too many problems, that's netcode optimization, basically.
That's amazing, man. And I love that, because having a smooth experience is the difference between I'm going to continue playing this game versus I'm never going to touch it again. You get me? Especially in a game that is surrounding competition so heavily, right? It's very competitive. So if I'm dying due to a ping issue, or like it's not optimized enough, and it's not a skill-based issue, right? Like people like to say all the time, it freaking sucks to have that experience, right? And it makes it very frustrating when you're trying to do good in a game and something else is causing you to have a bad experience, right? So I'm glad that you guys have that focus with optimization. Real quick, I do want to say hello to some new people in the chat. We have Carney. What is up, legend? Thank you for being here. We have Soul. What is up, my guy? Thank you for being here. Then we have Jin saying, yay, help my bad internet. We got you, man. We got you. It's coming. It's coming. All right, guys, let's move on to the next question here. How would your use of Web3 separate yourselves from other projects in the space? What are you doing that is so innovative?
A lot of what we're doing is going to be very, very simple by design. So, for example, a character is an NFT, essentially. And that's what you need to play the game. And that's really, really simple. So then you can, there's going to be progression, with characters. None of it is going to affect gameplay, but, stats and unlocks of your skins and visuals and things like that. That's pretty straightforward. What we think is going to be the really interesting use case, and I'm speaking hypothetically here, is if a game were to be competitive and fun to play in like a competitive, esports type of setting, we think that is a really good use case for a token, because especially if you have an international audience and you provide the ability for people to organize and do, mini tournaments or play head to head or whatever they want to do, get a team together. And what they're using is a token. That's a lot better than using fiat. It's a lot easier to handle. Every person wherever they happen to be, they can convert in and out of the token whenever they want. We think that's one of the really good use cases of Web3 in gaming. But you have to have the right game first. So, possibly someone will have a really good game that's really fun to play. And then, if a token were to become available, we think that would be a really good use case.
Absolutely.
Can I ask you? Oh,
I'll toss it right back to you, brother. I just want to touch on that real quick. I have to agree with you, man, because I see a big role with tokens utility being a use for wagering inside games, and one of another game that we love as a community, and we work with them very closely, Mix Mobs, is kind of doing that with their token already. They have a wagering system inside their game, and it works beautifully. I think it brings a high competitive risk into the matches, right? Because not only are you playing for real money, but you're kind of like seeing who's the better player, right? Especially if you have some type of leaderboard that kind of keeps tracks of those transactions and who has the most earning tokens as from wagering and all that type of stuff. That is something that gamers would rally behind on. Not the idea of like wagering tokens alone, but just the idea of being on top of that leaderboard, right? And like being the number one player in the world, and that showcasing across the entire ecosystem. Those are stuff that gamers are related to. But go ahead, Hado, man. Sorry, I had to jump in there and say that.
no, it's fine. That was all valid. That was good. I was gonna ask, do you think, and this is like an open question, anybody really on the panel right quick, but do you guys think it's going to be gaming tokens themselves doing this esport thing, or like the ecosystem plays where it's like a bunch of games under that same like esports concept that you just mentioned, Rodrigo?
I think it's going to be the game. Because it's so particular. You have to build for it. You have to integrate it really deeply into the game itself. An ecosystem can give a little bit of a platform, and maybe if it's a valuable token, that could be that could be useful. But the integration has to happen at a pretty deep level, I think, for it to really enhance the experience. So I would say it's probably going to be individual game tokens that are going to do this. They're going to work. You could see an ecosystem. I mean, it's possible to pull it off, but I don't know. We just haven't really seen it, and the type of integration you'd have to have. The ecosystems also, from what I've seen, they just want to. They're more of like a volume play typically. Like, oh look, we have 50 games, we have 100 games. It's like, yeah, you don't need 50 games. You need 2 fun ones. That's all you need.
Right.
True.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. All right. Before we move on to the next question, we do have a bonus question here from Ram and Cash. He's asking, will this game still ship if nobody wants the NFT or token, just Web 2?
Yes, absolutely. And that's how we started. That
Oh.
was the original plan, is that we're going to ship this as a Web 2 game.
Let's go. There you go, Ramen. You have your answer, brother. All right, let's move on to the next question here. You have worked with a lot of content creators in the space. In your opinion, how could these partnerships be more successful in conversion?
Kyle, you want to take this? You're much closer to this. I mean, you're in touch with the KOs all the time.
I think that it's more about breaking out of the Web3 bubble right now. I think reaching into other niches that you're interested in outside of just Web3, because I think one of the problems we see in Web3 is that people will get caught up in an echo chamber where it's the same people liking the same things, talking about the same people and same things consistently. And I think in order to onboard more quote unquote normies, we need to branch into those sections, and we need to onboard them in a more organic and direct manner. I'm a big proponent of organic outreach. I think the best way to bring someone into your circle is to go get them and bring them into your circle yourself, right? And people love the word of mouth type of interactions. So yeah, I think that, and also expanding to short form content more would be beneficial. Streaming on sites like TikTok and pushing your content in short form onto TikTok. Right now, we're seeing some people start to venture out into the TikTok area for the short form. And I think that's going to be an upwards trend over the next 6 months to a year, as people realize like it's easy to gain an audience there on TikTok as long as you're consistent. So I think we'll start to see that make major waves here in Web3 gaming.
I definitely agree with using different places to like put your content on. We definitely did that ourselves as in the early days for Catalyst. We focused on one platform in particular, but I definitely do think that at some point you do need to branch out and put your content everywhere. And so I do like that you mentioned TikTok. I always forget you could stream on that platform.
You can stream everywhere now. You can stream on Instagram, TikTok, everywhere.
Yeah.
But I think there's a value to like not allowing yourself as a brand in the beginning to dilute yourself so much where you're not growing anywhere, right? I think there's a very strong point to build out a presence and a fan base in one platform, and then use that fan base to spread out into other social medias or other platforms, right? And convert those users into those platforms, because it's much easier to have a fandom move over to another place to watch content once you have them versus trying to, grow in different places at the same time, essentially. But just before we move here to the last question, I do want to mention the poll is up for boss number 2. Go start voting, guys. We're going to get here into the last question with Moonray, and then we'll be moving on to our last boss. Okay, for the next question here, or the last question, it says you have the opportunity to hire one more team member, a successful game dev or a marketing executive. Who are you picking and why?
That's pretty easy. Game dev.
Ooh, why?
Yeah. Because the most important thing for us is to have the product, and until the product is finished. I mean, in fact, we already have like the next, 5 hires we want to make. At least we know what the kind of people that we're looking for. And it's really all on the game side. On the market side, we have a fantastic marketing team, but you don't need that many people. It's not. It's a very small marketing team can do a whole lot. On the game side, things get more and more complex as time goes on, and you have more ideas. And we wanted this, wanted that. It's like, okay, who's going to do it? So, for us, it's we want to invest 80-90% in the product. 10-20% into marketing. It's kind of like our rough metric, which, by the way, is uncommon in most of the game industry, even like Web2 game industry. It's more like 30-40% of a budget goes into marketing. And I think you can see it sometimes. You can see it in the quality of the game. I mean, like it looks cool. There's big marketing. Oh my god, the trailer's awesome. Then you go play the game. You're like, what the hell happened?
Yeah.
40% of the budget went into the trailer and into like these big campaigns. That's what happened.
Dude, the sad part is how often we see that in the space, right? It's like, wow, that's a dope trailer, and then you go play the game, and it's like, whoa, like that's not what
they spent their whole budget on like the character itself, and then it's like a pixel game. I'm like,
yeah, I just got catfish, bro. Like, what the heck is going on? Like that one game that did the Super Bowl commercial, like in 2021, I think is what it was, or something like that. And dude, the game was not, no. But anyways, Kyle, I want to give you the opportunity, man, to answer that question, just in case you have like a different answer than Rodrigo.
I mean, as part of the marketing team, I'd always love having more marketing people, you know. But I actually agree with him because game devs, like the devs that we have right now, man, they're so amazing at what they do, and every single time we add a guy onto the game dev side, like they kill it, man. They do what we're already doing and make it better every single time. So I mean, in marketing, we're doing fine. Whatever we can do to make the game better, make the product better, like he said. I mean, that's what people are going to care about in the end. They're not going to remember what the marketing team did, essentially, but they are going to remember the game. So that's
absolutely, man. That's beautiful. That's actually really well said, man. You know, like I remember everything about Halo 3, you know. I have no idea who marketed that game, or aside from like the Bungie event that they always used to do, the Microsoft event or whatever, I could not tell you one thing about marketing from Halo, you know, but I remember everything about the game. So I do think you're right on that. Now, poll number 2 is closing out, guys. Make sure you're voting. If you haven't done so yet, make sure you let us know how they're doing on their bosses so far. Now, before we transition here into our final boss, we do this thing here in Boss Battle every single week. And it's a little surprise that we put together for the guests that's joining us, their community, our communities. Our 2 of our co-founders, Damien and Missy, work on this design every single week, and they absolutely kill it every single time, man. But it's basically a free collectible NFT that we put together for your community and our community to collect. Let me show that preview real quick, and then we'll talk a little bit more about it. Yo, so you guys already know what time it is. Yes, man. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you like it. But the bash is currently live, guys. Make sure you guys go and claim that real quick. You're going to have 2 hours to claim it. It's completely free. So just go ahead and click the link in the comment section and make sure you guys pick the Moonray bash. But guys, I'm glad you liked them, because like I said, Damien and Missy do an absolute tremendous job on that, and we love seeing it, man. We went with like the old school cartridge, like, you know, N64 cartridge design, and then we do like a little we do all of our art through AI, an AI generator that we've custom made and stuff like that. And you know, glad you guys fucked with it, man.
Super cool. Yeah, really good. It looks really nice.
Awesome, man. So yeah, it's a little surprise for you guys in the community. Make sure you guys are checking that out. Again, link is going to be in the comment. And with that, I think we're ready to go into the twin-headed Hydra, brother.
Are we?
I think we are, man. I think we are. Are you ready?
I'm ready. All right, so I'll take the first one. Cloud will take the next one. It'll be like that for the rest of the show here. What are the team-specific goals or metrics that would determine Moonray as success? What does success look like for Moonray?
I mean, our long-term goal is to get, we want to be at 20,000 concurrent users. That's our target.
So that's like, are you going to build up to that, or that's just like the...
No, that'll probably take a while. I mean, it's, the game's got to get 20,000, people playing concurrently at any moment. You've got to have, probably a few million downloads, something like that. So it's probably going to take us a couple of years.
Yeah, and I'm sure like dispersing it to like different places to like download it from would be helping in that regard.
Yeah, and then it's got to be fun enough that people are constantly going in and making little mini tournaments or playing with each other or doing matches. So it's you've got to make a really sticky game, because you can get a lot of downloads, but then you see people after 5 hours stop playing it. So that's we want to see people playing it over and over and over. But that's kind of our long term.
So you said 20,000 again?
20,000 concurrent users. So basically, anytime that if you go on and make a match, you should see 20,000 other gamers.
Oh, so like queue up, boom, is in the match.
Yeah.
I lost, I suck. Okay, I gotta get back in there. Queue
Quick
up
matches
again.
instantaneous. There's servers all over the world. Wherever you are in the world, you can play a game, and it's solid.
Okay, I can see that. That would be a success. I would say that'd be a success for sure. If I could play any game and just queue up and play, yeah, I would agree. For sure.
Dude, if there were still that many people playing Black Ops 2 today without cheating, I would be playing that
Without
game.
cheating?
Yeah, dude, you go in there, you shoot somebody, you got 100 million points, your master prestige with one kill, it's crazy.
Yeah, you gotta mention that because there's a bunch of cheaters in that game.
You can't play that game anymore, man. Not without losing all your assets and getting rugged.
For sure, man. Well, let's kick it off to Clouds for next question then.
All right. Question number 2 says, how will the earning and distribution of the 3 playable characters as NFTs during the free-to-play event be regulated to prevent exploitation and unfair advantages? And what steps are being taken to ensure that these characters remain balanced within the game? That was a long question. Let me know if you want to repeat that.
No, that's okay. So I mean, first of all, you have to have a user account. So then we basically know what an account is doing. So, I mean, I guess in theory, you could go in there and make multiple accounts, but you still have to put in the hours. And it's a skill-based game, so we think it's going to be hard to bot from that standpoint because you got to learn how to parry. So that's kind of the first line of defense. Balancing. So all of our characters are always going to be any changes within a character as you progress is visual. It's always visual. Balancing between characters right now, it's purely based on weapons. And that's probably going to remain. In other words, we are going to do some form of character classes. We're still kind of working out exactly how we're going to do that. I don't think that we're going to be changing the attributes of the characters themselves. It's going to be based more on loadouts. So what weapons you can equip and which abilities you can equip. So then it's just normal game balancing. I mean, you have to have, the saber balance versus the greatsword versus, whatever the daggers or the spear, whatever the melee weapons are. And none of that will depend on a particular NFT you owned. Because it's just going to be, a character is just going to give you access to that class of weapons essentially. But the game overall has to be balanced. And the way we do that is, we observe. We're always playtesting ourselves. We're watching playtests. And as we move into open alpha, we can start collecting a lot of data. Okay, which weapons we can just see which weapon is being used, which weapon dealt the most damage this week. And if we see, Saber dealt, 3x more damage than any other weapon. Well, why? Is it just, do people just like it? Is it something, something? Maybe people just like it, or maybe something's wrong. So once you have the game live, you can start collecting data and balance that way as well.
And if you could collect that data and use like splash images to portray it in some way, that would be really dope. Because I always like those little Spotify end of the year. This is how many times you listen to whatever. Like to see all those stats, like all these people were killed this way or whatever. That'd be something cool to see about the game. That really don't see a lot of games do.
And we're going to start tracking like heat maps of the maps, so we can see where people are, where they're running, where they're dying. We can actually see, and that we have 1,000 games played on a map. You can get a lot of information about like where are people going on the map. Is there something about something
very
about the map
important for esports players? Yeah.
So putting that information out there is useful. Now some of it, we have to get it first and then see if there's something that we need to fix, before we put it out there. But really just collecting data and going through it with, and we're going to start implementing probably like machine learning to help us analyze the data because we expect to be getting a whole lot of it. And then you might pick up insights that you wouldn't see normally once you start running it through all this, these crazy, AI algorithms that we have now. So we've got a lot of ideas on how we're going to do that, but it's really important that a competitive game balance is absolutely critical.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And what you mentioned about the, utilizing the data from where people are how people are moving around the map, that could be extremely important to analyze when you're building a competitive game, right? You want to know the movement around the map. What are people focusing on? What are people controlling? All that type of stuff. Now you mentioned abilities, and that to me sounds super cool too. And Jin is asking in the chat which is the same question I have. Is that alpha? Is that something that's being worked on for sure? Like
we're working on. No, it's coming. I mean, we probably won't have anything out that's playable probably closer to fall, in the fall and winter. But by the end of the year, we want to have the first, at least the first batch of abilities and the first batch of character classes that are playable to the public. because that's going to add a really like another level to the game. Not only is it your weapon loadout, your ability loadout, and then if certain characters only have access to certain weapons and abilities, now you got to start putting your team together much more carefully as well. So that's how we're going to start layering in like more of the competitive team-based aspect. Is really where we want to take this. Is not single player like one-on-one or deathmatch. We want this to be team-based. It's just more fun, So we're really focusing on 4 versus 4 play, make that as fun as possible, and then make sure that the team loadout you got to think it through carefully.
Man, I spent like a Catalyst game night of me talking shit to Mizzy and Mizzy talking shit to me and Clouds in the future.
Bro, it's going down, bro. That's a must-have, man.
And
But
Damien laughing at everything.
I love the format of a 4v4, man. I think that's the best format you can have for a competitive game. It makes the team composition a lot harder because you really got to pick and choose not only classes, but you got to pick and choose what players you're going to have in your team too, right? Because it's a lot harder to pick between 3 other people than it is to have, okay, I have 6 teammates. That's, a good amount of options that I can play with. But when you have to pick 3 people plus yourself, it becomes a lot harder,
Yo,
So
pipe
really
down,
cool.
Ramen, pipe down.
I'll beat everybody in Moon. Man, please. I seen your gameplay, Ramen. Not impressed.
Hey, he won Wednesday Warfare last week.
That was his luck, man. He was bragging about. We were playing Xdefiant, bragging about it. Dude is saying, "Yo, I'm killing everybody." Jumps in the lobby with us. I'm having to carry this man on my back. My back is hurting. It's crazy, bro. It's crazy. All right, I'm gonna kick it back to Hados for the next question.
All right, let's do it. How does Moonray intend to keep players engaged and invested in the game beyond the free-to-play event, particularly the promise of the future updates and major announcements, or particularly with promise of future updates and major announcements?
Yeah, I mean the rhythm that I think that we want to hit is at least one important update every quarter. So every 3 months, something pretty big. Maybe it's either a new map, new characters, a new moveset, something like that, and then in between probably smaller updates, maybe a lot of balancing and patch fixes more than anything. But we think once a quarter is something that's probably realistic for us. That's kind of like the rhythm that we've been falling into just internally, and I think it's enough to. Every couple of months there's something new, a new reason to go look, a new, a refresh on the balance or some new weapon or something. And I think it's achievable. It's achievable. It also gives you time to kind of, master a certain set of, a certain style of the game, a certain set of maps and weapons and things like that. If you change it too quickly, then it's like the game is always in chaos. It's always in flux. And you never know. It's never stable, right? So that's kind of what we're thinking. Every 3 months we're going to have a pretty big patch, and we'll probably do this for like 2 years. And then once once we get to full release, we'll put out. I mean, who knows? I mean, at that point, we'll see what the world looks like and reevaluate.
Love that answer. You don't want to go too fast and break things. Clouds, I see you having a war here in the chat. What's going on?
I'm putting Ramen in his place, man. He's talking wild in the chat. I had to jump in there real quick and show him what's up.
He said, "Don't make me get my friend Candace Fit to come play."
Listen, bro. I don't want no troubles. Relax. All right.
Hey, you stand on business.
That's a great answer from you guys, man. Hado, do you have anything you want to follow up with, or you want me to kick it to the next question here?
No, you can take it away, man. That was a great answer. I loved it.
All right, awesome. Let's move on here. How is the team balancing the development of new features with the need to refine and improve the core gameplay loop? And what criteria are used to determine which updates take priority? You guys have already kind of touched on this throughout the conversations, but anything else you want to add on when it comes to balancing core gameplay loop and, any updates or announcements that are coming up that the community should know about?
I mean, a lot of it comes down to we have a really good development team. We have a really good producer in particular who's very, very good at because a lot of times we'll throw a lot of ideas at him. He says, "That's a great idea. We'll look at it in 6 months." He's just very seasoned and he knows what it takes, because it's more important to get, our focus this whole time has been getting the very basic, most simple version of the game being fun and having really good performance. In other words, the game should be fun one-on-one with just, two melee weapons, 2 range weapons. That's it. Don't get more complicated. That has to work. And once that works and it's damn well perfect, then you can start layering on more complexity. So a lot of it is just discipline. It's discipline of the development team, because we have a million ideas. We've got a million ideas that we want to start implementing, and the developers will kind of tell us, "Hey guys, that sounds really cool, but it's going to take us, we still have, performance and netcode and, visual, graphics performance to do. So you got to rely on your developers to kind of put the brakes on crazy ideas.
Yeah, that's a lot of conviction to have, right? Because do you think that takes for a team to have a strong leader that can kind of pump those brakes when needed, right? Because oftentimes you see in studios that things take quite a long time exactly because of that issue that you just brought up, right? Everybody wants to like implement their cool ideas and stuff like that, right? And things can get very messy in the development process when it's like that, right? So do you think having like, what do you think are the key factors a team should have to make sure that doesn't happen?
Yeah, it's super, super important because especially the natural inclination of teams, especially like if they start listening more to the business side, is to put out a whole lot of stuff. Say, look, we have 10 characters, we have 20 characters. Look at how many maps we have. Look how many weapons we have. Yeah, but are they balanced? Do you have performance? Does it even matter? And it takes a lot of discipline, a lot of focus. And it's a lot of it's just experience, so it took us a long time to put our team together. And we only recruit now, I think almost exclusively word of mouth. Basically, we very rarely put out when we look for a new developer, an ad or anything. It's just never worked for us. It's someone knows someone, and a lot of times it's just like, hey, someone's available. I know this guy, and he's super, super good at X, and he's available. Okay, let's talk to him. We'll bring him on. So we build that core team, and from our standpoint, is more on like the business side. We totally trust them. So when we throw ideas at them, they say, "No, guys, that's a 6-month project. We can't start that till September." It's like, all right, well then we'll wait. We'll make do with what we, we'll make what we have now. Now we'll make it work because, like I said, if they listen to us right now, we would have 15 characters, and it just wouldn't work.
Dude,
so they
amazing answer, and I love how real you guys are, man, about all this stuff. It's not often you meet a team that can kind of talk openly about this type of issues, right? And like what goes on behind the scene when it comes to like developing teams and stuff like that, because a lot of people in the space don't get to see this side of it, right? And like what goes on into like what are teams thinking about when they're building their teams, right? Like what is the process that they go through? And this is just really cool to converse about, so shout outs to you guys for building a strong team and a strong product, man, and taking your time with it. That's, to me, that's worth more than putting out a shitty product and shipping out fast stuff. Like I look at games like, for example, what you brought up with like games that have a lot of maps, a lot of characters, but how many of them actually work? How many of them are actually balanced, right? I went through that when I was playing Call of Duty a lot of the times, right? Because Call of Duty is known for like doing DLCs pretty often, right? And then you play like 80% of their maps suck. You get me? And you're like, dude, like we can't even play this in a rank match, right? You can't even bring this to the competitive side because it's not balanced, it's not put together well, right? It doesn't work out for like team balancing, all this other stuff. So I'm glad that you guys are taking your time. Now, before I kick it to Hado over for the last question, the poll is up, so make sure you're voting and you're letting us know how they did on the last boss. And with that, I'm gonna kick it to Hado. Hado, take care of the last question for us, man.
Absolutely. Let's get into it. Final question on boss battle. Final question of the Twin-Headed Hydra. How will the Foundation NFTs be given away through social media promotion, be integrated into the game, and what exclusive benefits or utilities will they provide to winners?
I don't know how much of that we're actually revealing publicly yet, but we're going to be posting a lot about what the Foundation is actually going to do. But it is, from our perspective, the most important, NFT, and that's why we call it the Foundation. Obviously, it was the very first thing that we did, the first thing that we actually released to the public. So from our standpoint, the Foundation is going to be the most important NFT to own, and it's going to be kind of like the all access pass to everything we do, essentially. So that is, after that, we're not going to do anything super complicated. It's mostly just going to be different characters. You play the characters that you like. But the Foundation is the only one that's going to be kind of like a overarching NFT that affects a lot of areas of the game, essentially. So not a very direct, answer there, I know, but basically stay tuned. And again, we do have a marketing team, and if I start saying things I'm not supposed to, then Kyle gets mad. He's got to deal with it in the community. No.
They're sending you messages right now. Stop! Don't say anymore.
Stop him. That's awesome, man. All right. Well, listen, man. I think you guys made it through absolute terrific job, man. I'm gonna let Hado take care of going over the scoring and all that good stuff. But man, it was a blast having you guys on the show. Super cool conversation and super cool to learn more about Moonray too and what you guys have been building, man. Awesome to see.
Thanks
But
for
Hado,
having us.
take
We
it away,
appreciate
brother.
it.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
With the
Now, excuse me, Clouds, I'm talking. Now, usually on this show, we break down how each boss is done. You know, some people do well, some people didn't make it. They got slain by the boss. Now, which show are we on today? That's the question. Clouds, what do you think?
The Price is Right.
No, that's not what I meant. No. Okay, I'll try to build a little bit of suspense, but you scored a perfect 100 every single time, so there is no suspense. You have defeated all of the bosses, and you have won yourself a trophy!
Let's go.
Yo, let's go, man. Congratulations, guys. Super high for you guys. That you absolutely crushed it, man. 100% across the map, you mean? Like 100% on all the buses?
They did this blindfolded with
Dude.
foot controls,
That is the
and
new record.
didn't get hit once. That's the
a
run.
New,
Let's go.
that's a new record on the show, guys. You have the highest standing score so far in boss battles. So congratulations to you guys. Now, we do like to give you the floor at the end. So the floor is yours. Let the community know, let the listeners know anything that you want them to know about Moonray or anything that's upcoming. Take it away, guys.
Yeah, may I just say one quick little thing that Kyle alluded to earlier, that we really appreciate the community. We really love watching all the playtests, all the weeknights, people jumping in. We observe it a lot. We watch recordings a lot. Sometimes our developers get in and watch. For us, it's been really great watching everyone play. We learn a lot from it. We learn a lot from what people say, and we listen to what they say during the match. So for us, that's been really, really cool to see that that people are starting to have fun. So it's been several years of us kind of working hard behind the scenes, kind of quietly in a crazy industry where things go up and down, and like you never know what the regulators are going to do, and things like FTX nearly took us all out and all this kind of stuff. And so it's really nice to get here and then just like you know what, okay, there's like a light at the end of the tunnel. So thanks to the community, everyone that's been giving us feedback and playing the game. And to us, that's what it's all about. We're making this so it's fun for people to play.
Dude, that's amazing. And, I think that's the feeling that a lot of people that have been building through the bear are going to have once we make it out of this, and we have some finished products. And it's amazing. Thank you guys for coming on the show. Guys, to everyone listening, make sure you check out Moonray in all socials. Make sure you check out their games. All right. Make sure you join their community. Start learning about it because it is a pretty cool game, guys. So shout outs to them. And thank you guys for being on the show. We'll catch you guys here back next week at the same damn time on Tuesday, 6 p.m. on X and now everywhere apparently. But peace out, guys. Take care. We'll see you next time.